Okay, yeah. So in chapter 16, we will learn about reproductions. We will learn about reproductions in humans and in the plants, right? So when we talk about the reproductions, there will be two types of the reproductions. So we know as the sexual and the asexual reproductions. So I think you already know that for humans or animals, right, what we do is we do the sexual reproductions to produce our progeny, our offsprings. Yeah. Then how about asexual reproductions? Asexual reproduction is usually performs in the lower class of the organism, like the bacteria, for example, bacteria, or the fungus, right? Yeah, some kind of fungus, they will produce a lot of spores. So the spore is being produced by the asexual productions. So yeah, so in the asexual productions, right, how is the mechanism is usually they were able to make two copy from one parent cell. For example, we can have a look at how this bacteria, okay, because usually bacteria, they will did the asexual production, which is a prokaryotes, right? It's a prokaryotes. So prokaryotes, they will use, they will perform the asexual productions to produce more copies of themselves. So like they require one parent cell first, one parent cell. And inside this parent cell, right, they have what? They have the DNA, okay? They have the circular DNA and the plasmid DNA, and also they have the ribosome. So as we know that in the prokaryotes cell, right, they don't have other kind of membrane-bound organelles. Yeah. So first, they will undergo the first step is they will undergo the DNA replication. So what's meant by DNA replication? DNA replication is just like you make the photocopies of the DNA. You're using the photostat machine, right, to make the photocopy of your document. From one copy become two copy. So DNA replication is just the same theory as that. So after this bacteria parent cell undergo DNA replication, right? So they're able to produce about two copies of the DNA, of this circular DNA, and also the plasmid and the ribosome. Okay, yeah, you can see, right, the ribosome. This circle structure, right, is a ribosome. So that means that genetic materials, they can be replicated. So after that, so this is happened during what? During the nuclear divisions. Nucleus divisions. And then this nucleus divisions, right? After the parent cell undergo the nucleus divisions, means that they will split the nucleus from one become two already. So that's why they need to undergo DNA replication first, because inside the nucleus, right, they contain the DNA inside. So after they undergo the nucleus divisions, they will further divide about the cytoplasms. So you can see, right, they will do something like this, okay? It doesn't show in this picture, but it's just something like this, okay? They will spill the cytoplasm. So they will become two, they will become two genetically identical daughter cell. So this is known as daughter cell, two daughter cell. And then let me ask you, this daughter cell, does it have 100% genetically identical to their parent cell? The answer is yes. Okay, that is, it's totally 100% same, identical to the genome of the parent cell. So this is we call as the binary fictions. So this whole process we know as binary fictions. So binary fictions is example of the asexual productions. Okay, so they can use these methods, right, to produce a large number of the cell in a very short time. So that's why the bacteria, they can able to multiply at a faster rates by using the asexual productions. So they'll make a lot of the bacterial copies, right? By this method, okay? And then these methods, right? These asexual productions, they have their pros and cons, okay? The pros is they can produce a very large amount of the progeny in a very short time. Okay, amount of copy in short time. Okay, but the con is the cons because it's just like replication only. So that's why the genome is totally same to our parents. So this is actually not good things for the if you want to ensure the survival of the bacteria. This is not a good thing because to ensure the organism, right, to produce their progenies, okay, and then to ensure their progenies, they can survive in the future generation, right? So that means that the generation they must become stronger and stronger compared to the parents. So that's why we encourage about increase the genetic variations. So this is we know as they're using the mitosis. So actually the biofriction is an example of the mitosis. So this mitosis, right, you are not increasing the genetic variations, but you are reducing the genetic variations. Okay, what's meant by genetic variations? Okay, so the con is like it will produce the genetically identical daughter cell. So by this way, you are actually reduce the genetic variation. So if you reducing the genetic variations of the next generation, right? So that means the generation is totally become same to your parents. So that's why it's not a process which to produce a stronger or better generations, more resistant. No. So it just totally same to a parent. So this is not good for them. Okay, so this is the concept for the asexual productions. Yeah, so it doesn't require the sex gametes and they doesn't need to undergo the fertilizations between these sex gametes, right? And then there's no fusion of the sperm and the ovum, and then there is no missing of the genetic informations, like no meiosis happens, okay? No meiosis happens. So that's why you produce the next generation is totally same to your parents. Yeah, okay? So it's genetically identical to parents. Okay, so then now we talk about the sexual production later, okay? So that's one is happen in the bacteria, which is it will do the binary frictions. Then how about in the plants? Plants, right? Plants, they can undergo the sexual reproductions and the asexual productions. So how plant undergoes asexual productions is they will use these bulbs and tubers. Can you see this? Bulbs and tubers. Yeah. So bulbs and tuber, like for example, in the onion, okay, in the onions, okay. So they have these bulbs and tubers. So if you peel the onions off, right, you can see the internal structure of onions is like they have like this. This is called what? This is called as a flower buds. Okay, they have the middle flower buds and they have the lateral buds. Okay, so what's mean like this bud? Okay, here we call it a bud. Here, this thing. Okay, this thing. So the buds, right, is a short stem with leaf or the remainings of the leaf, which act as a food storage organs. They can develop into the plant in the following year. So that's why you can see when you put the onions in a very long time, right? I mean, you keep the onion for a long time, you didn't eat the onions. So after that, the onion will germinate. So after the germinate, right, they will produce the shoot, okay? You can see the shoot growing up. Yeah, it's because that it's grown from the bulbs, okay, bulbs. So this is actually a kind of the asexual productions. So it means that the onion itself, they can produce a new plant which is totally same identical genetically to the parents' plants. By this way, okay? It's because that this bulb right here, the whole thing, okay? So the bulbs, they will store a lot of nutrients, okay? Because it's a kind of food storage organs. Food storage organs means that this is a site where the plants store their nutrients. So these nutrients can support the germinations of the new plant. Okay, so that's why the new plants, they're able to grow from the lateral buds. Yeah. Okay, then how about in the tubers? Tuber is another food storage organ found in the plants, for example, like in the potatoes, right? So the tubers, okay, is found in the swollen, fleshy, underground stem buds, okay, formed from them. Yeah, so for example, like when you plant a potato, okay, underground, so the potato, they will germinate to produce a new buds. Okay, so it's because that the potato itself, right? The potato itself is the tuber. Itself is represented tubers. Okay, which is they will being produced from the swollen and fleshy underground stem buds from them. Because this tuber, right, is a kind of food storage organs. Inside, they also contain a lot of nutrients. So these nutrients, right, they can support the germination of a new plants emerge from the being emerged from the parents plants. So no matter it's buds or is the tuber, right? So both able to produce a new young plants by asexual productions. That's all. Okay, that's all you need to know. Okay, and then some of the plants, right? They can grow their side shoots called runner. So they contain the tiny plants on them. Yeah, so you can see, right? This is the parent plant, okay? So parent plant. So sometimes the parent plants, they can grow a very, very long stem like this. This is called runner. Okay, so this runner, right, able to grow on the next area. Okay, usually it's just adjacent to the parent plant. So after that, this runner, right, they will develop, grow in the roots, right? And then they will grow the shoots and become separate plants. Okay, so these plants, okay, this requires plantlets. Okay, these plantlets is just totally same genetic material from the parent plants because they just grow from the parent plants. Okay, so this is another type of reproductions in the plants. And then we should know the advantage and the disadvantage of the asexual reproduction is, so you can see from these statements, right? If you are using these asexual reproductions, you can produce a very large amount of the offsprings in a very short time. So that's why you can expand your populations rapidly. Okay, when provided with a good conditions, means it's you give the adequate supply of the oxygens, of the nutrients, so we can encourage the asexual productions of those living organisms. Okay, so because they can produce a large amount of the progeny in a very short time, right? So this large amount of progenies, they can exploit the suitable environments very quickly. And then it saves time, okay? It saves time because they just use a very short time on it. So that's why you have more time and energy efficiency. Then the reproduction is complete much faster than the sexual reproduction. Definitely, because what you need to do is you just need to divide your nucleus and then you need to undergo the cytoplasm divisions so you're able to get a new plant already. A new progenies. Okay, so this is totally different from the sexual reproductions. Okay, sexual reproductions, if compared to the asexual reproductions, sexual reproduction they require a longer time. It's because at sexual reproductions they will form we call it sex gametes. So these six gametes are which is known as ovum and sperm. So this ovum and sperm, right, they need to fertilize each other, and then they become a zygote. So by this process, right, actually it take a lot. It take a lot of times to produce zygotes. So later the zygote they will undergo we call it cell divisions, and then they will become the embryo. Something like that. It take a lot of energies, and also it take a lot of times as compared to the asexual reproductions. Okay, so another disadvantage is you are actually reduce the genetic variations. Limited means reduce, okay? You are reducing genetic variation in the populations, is because that you are able to produce the offspring, right? And then this offspring is totally same to their parents. It's just same to their parents, okay? So this is not good for them, okay? Because as well, as you are progeny, right, you must be stronger and better, okay, compared to your parent generations, right? So this requires a survival skill, okay? You cannot have like totally same to your parents. So that's why you need to have increase the genetic variation. Okay, we encourage to increase the genetic variations within the species so they can produce a better quality progeny. So the population is vulnerable to change in the conditions. So means that if you undergo a lot of S reproductions and then you produce a lot of progenies, right? And then these progenies, they have a very we call it reduced lesser genetic variations. So that's why if any disease happen, right, you can kill all the progeny. Okay, because their genotype just totally same to our parents. Okay, so that means it's vulnerable. Okay, it's vulnerable to any change in the condition like the disease. Okay, any factors they can cause to reduce the populations of them. Okay, so the disease is likely to affect the whole population as there is no genetic variations. So here's a reason. Okay, here's a reason. No genetic variations. So we should understand that it's very important that you need to encourage because outbreeding. Okay, you know, inbreeding and outbreeding. Have you heard of this term before?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So outbreeding is definitely better compared to the inbreedings. Means that in the outbreeding, right? Outbreeding involves like breeding in the same species. Okay, they are still in the same species, but the same species, right? Within the species, right, there are a lot of like variations. So that's why you encourage the outbreedings. For example, like you encourage the outbreeding of like this animal species, okay, to another breeds. So this example outbreeding. So by this way, you are able to increase the genetic variations. You're able to produce a stronger generations. Like inbreeding, right? You are just encouraged to breed. So this inbreeding is a method like they want to preserve the pure breeds. Okay, pure breed. For example, the cattle, right? The cattle, they have a lot of cattle breeds. So they just want to have this kind of particular breeds. So they just breed this kind of like cattle, but not breeding another breed type of the cattle. So that's why we call it pure breed. But this pure breed, right, they have their risk. The risk is you are actually reducing the genetic variations. Even though you can preserve the genetic trait that you want, but you're actually reducing the genetic variations. So that means that the progeny that is being produced from the inbreeding, right, actually is very vulnerable, okay, to any disease challenge. Okay. Yeah, that's all. So this is advantage and disadvantage. So this is usually the question they will ask this kind of past year, during the past year they will ask this kind of question. So you should know how to how to answer it. Then now we talk about sexual reproductions. Sexual reproduction, right, is they are actually involved the fusion of the nucleus of two gametes. Okay, these two gametes is one from the male, which is a sperm. Another one is from the ovum, which is from the female. So if these two gametes, right, they fuse together, they will become a diploid zygote. So after that, the zygote, they will undergo cell division, then they become the embryos. Okay, so those embryos able to implant on the uterus. So by this way, right, you're actually producing offsprings. They are genetically different from the parent cell. Means the daughter cell is totally not same genetic, we call it genetic material with their parents. Okay. So you're actually increasing the genetic variation. You're actually increasing the genetic variation by the sexual reproductions. Increasing the genetic variation. So the gametes, right? Now we talk about in the human first, okay? In the humans. So the gametes is referred to the sex cell. So in the animal cell, we actually refer to the ovums and the sperm. And then in the plant cell, right, they actually refer to the pollen grains and the ovum. Have you heard of pollen grain before? Pollen grain, puffin. Okay, it's being produced by the plants. So the gametes, right, they just different from the normal cell. So this normal cell, actually, they are referred to what? Oh, sorry. This normal cell, right, they are actually referred to, we call as the autosomal cell. Okay, have you heard of autosomal cell? This one, autosomal cell. Okay, autosomal cell is referred to the body cell. Okay, autosomal cell. Oh, sorry, I think it's not this one, somatic cell. Pardon. Okay, yeah, somatic cell. This somatic cell is referred to any of the body cell. For example, like in your muscle cell, skin cell, nerve cell. Yeah, those are the, we call it somatic cell. Okay, means it's referred to a body cell. So what happened to this somatic cell? Okay, because we have two types of cell, okay, we have two types of cell. First, we call it somatic cell. Second, we call it what? Gametes. Okay, gametes. So somatic cell is referred to your body cell, right? Okay, your skin cell, your hair cell, bone cell, muscle cell. And then gametes is referred to the ovum and the sperm. So the difference between this somatic cell and the gamete cell is their ways of the reproductions. In the somatic cell, they usually do the asexual reproductions. Okay, they will do the binary fissions. However, in the gametes, I mean in the this one gametes, right, which is ovum and sperm, right, they are usually perform sexual reproductions. So just now we talk about asexual reproduction, right? We talk about how the bacteria able to undergo the binary fissions to produce a large copy of the bacteria. And then we talk about how plants able to undergo the asexual reproductions by using their tubers. Yeah, the tubers, okay, the tubers, and then by producing a new plantlets. And then this also apply in our body cell. Okay, for example, our skins. Okay, our skin. Do you know that our skin cell actually they do mitosis every seconds? Okay, because you are actually shedding off your skin cell, right? But you just didn't realize it, but actually you are just shedding off. So that's why your skin cell they need to be replaced every day. So that's why you need to have the somatic cell which undergo the requires binary fissions, which is they just undergo the division of nucleus followed by divisions of the cytoplasm, so you're able to produce a daughter cell at the faster rate. Okay, at a faster rate. So now we talk about the sexual reproduction, right? So this sexual reproduction is only occur in the sex gametes only. Okay, so that's why gametes, right, is different from the normal cell. This normal cell is actually they are referred to the somatic cell, which is the body cell. So how is it different from other cell is because that in the sex gametes, right, they only have about half of the number of the chromosomes. So we know as haploid nucleus. So what does this mean? Okay, it means that half of the number of chromosomes, right, it means that each of the gamete cell, they only have one copy of each chromosome instead of two copies found in the body cell. Let me show you an example, okay? Let me show some not cell, okay? To let you understand better, okay? Wait me for a second. So what is meant by we call as a haploid and diploid? I think you heard of this before, right? Haploid and diploid. Okay. Let me show you haploid and diploid. I will say I haven't sent this to you, right? Sorry, I haven't sent this to you. Later I'll send to you. Okay. So, for example, just now we talk about sexual and the asexual reproduction, right? So, sexual reproductions is actually using we call as meiosis. Okay, it's involved in the process of meiosis. So, by the sexual reproductions, you are actually able to produce the daughter cell, which is not genetically identical to the parent cell. And then you're actually able to produce a cell which only have half of the chromosome number, okay, which is gametes, okay, which is 6 gametes. The ovum and sperm, right, they only have half of the chromosome number. Okay, and then now we talk about mitosis, right? Mitosis is being applied in all of the asexual productions. Okay, see, asexual productions. So what they didn't do is they're just trying to increasing their cell number only. So it happened in all our somatic body cell and our zygote also. You can see, right? Zygote, they will undergo cell divisions after they do the fertilizations. So, and also includes in the stem cell, okay? So our stem cell also, they will do a lot of mitosis. Sorry. So for example, this is our stem cell. Yeah, this is our stem cell. So at that where we can find our stem cell, where we can discover our stem cell. What do you think? 干细胞. Have you heard of stem cell before? Okay, stem cell is found in the bone marrow. Bone marrow, I mean 骨髓啊. Okay, 骨髓 in your backbone there. Okay, there's a bone marrow. You are there, right? Okay,
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Because you didn't reply to me, I thought we offline already. Yeah. So stem cell are found in the bone marrow, 在你的骨髓 ，OK， 骨头里面那个骨髓 ，OK， in the bone marrow and also some of your organs, right? You know your organs, for example, your stomach, okay, your stomach. They also have some percentage, a very small percentage of stem cell. So this stem cell, what they do is they were able to replace the old and damaged cell. So for example, in the stomach cell, right? Yeah, the cell in the stomach we call as what? Stomach cell, for example. Yeah, so the stomach cell, they worn out, right? They worn out, they'll be dying off. So that's why how you're able to replace those stomach cell is you need to have those stem cells able to undergo differentiations. Okay, they will know this one, differentiations. This one. So they will become a specialized cell. So now in the stomach, right, they will become a stomach cell. Okay, so the cell that you learned before, okay, we call it as what? Specialized cell that you learned before, okay? Those muscle cell, fat cell, bone cell, blood cell. So those are classified under somatic cell. They are belong to the somatic body cell, and those somatic body cell is being produced from the asexual productions, from the stem cell, okay? They are actually originated from the stem cell. So initially it's a stem cell first in the bone marrow. So just a stem cell, right? What they do is stem cell, they will do a lot of the binary fission, okay? They will do a lot of acid reproduction. They just divide, and then to produce a very large number of stem cell. And those stem cells, they're able to undergo differentiations and then they become specific cell. So either they want to become a sex cell or immune cell. Okay, depend on that. Okay, so that's different between them. Okay, so now I want to show you is about, okay, chromosome number. Sorry, I talked too long already. Okay, chromosome number. Where is it? Oh, I didn't put at here. Sorry, I put at another notes. Chapter 17. Okay, let me show you this one. Inheritance. Yeah. I think I put it here. Okay, sorry. Okay, see. Meiosis and the mitosis. Okay. Later I will send this note to you. Okay, have a look. Actually, this is topic found in the chapter 17 now. Okay, we haven't go through there first. Yeah, so you can see, right? This meiosis is involved in the sexual productions. So at this well, we need to know the purpose of the sexual and the asexual productions, right? So the purpose for the sexual production is they will produce gametes. They just want to produce gametes only. For example, they will produce an ovum, a sperm cell. Those are the gametes. So those gamete cell, right? Their chromosome number is half. They just have half of the number if compared to the diploid somatic cell, which is your body cell. Okay. So, for example, of the meiosis, right, is include the sperm cell, ovum, and the pollen grain. You just have these 3 cells include in your syllabus. they are belong to the sexual reproductions. Okay, they are undergo sexual reproduction. So they're actually produced from the meiosis. Yeah, they are actually produced from the meiosis. So that's why their cell, they only have half of the chromosome number. So those cells, right, they are actually involved in the sexual reproductions. Okay, so that's why you need to undergo the fertilization later. Okay, this one, fertilizations. Because you only have half of the gametes, right? So that's why you need to undergo fertilizations. You're able to combine the chromosome number, become the diploid zygote. Okay, so means like, for example, when we talk about sperm cell or ovum cell, right? Inside of the gametes is half. Okay, so for a normal human body cell, how many gametes? It's not how many gametes. How many number of chromosomes is included in our body cell? It's about 46 of the chromosome, which is this one. Okay, it's about 46 chromosome is involved in every of our body cell. Just like in your liver cell, you are totally have 46 chromosomes. In the bone cell, in the red blood cell, you also have about 46 chromosomes in the nucleus of each cell. Okay, 46, yeah? Okay, 46. But the meiosis make the cell become half of the chromosome number. So you can see, right, this is the meiosis. Okay, so meiosis, the purpose of meiosis is they want to produce the 6 gametes for the sexual reproduction later. So the meiosis, right, initially the cell, right, is this diploid number also. Okay, meiosis only happen in the because in the 6 organs. Like for example, meiosis is happen inside the ovum. It's not ovum, sorry, inside the ovary. Okay, inside the ovary, and also inside the testis. Right? So meiosis, right, that happen in the ovary, because ovary is a place, right, which is they will produce a lot of the follicle cell. Okay, they will produce a lot of follicle cell, and also they will produce the ovum. So ovary 卵巢, okay, ovary 卵巢 is the site of the ovum productions. Ovum means what? 卵子. So ovary is 卵巢, is a sexual organs. Okay, ovum is the 卵子, is the 6 gametes, which is undergo fertilization later. So meiosis occur in the ovary and also in the testes. Okay, in the testes. So in the testes, which is in the male only, they will have the process, meiosis process happen inside the testes, so they can produce the sperm cell, which is haploid. Okay, can you get me? So you can see, right, this is diploid cell. This diploid cell is actually found inside the ovary and the testes. Okay, so after that, this diploid cell, right, diploid parent cell, they will undergo the meiosis. So you know that meiosis is a process, they will halve the number of the total chromosome. So by this way, right, they can produce a haploid cell. Okay, they can produce about 4 daughter cells from about 1 parent cell. See, they can produce about 4 daughter cells from 1 parent cell. Just imagine that they can produce about 4 sperm cells from the diploid spermatocyte. Okay, spermatocyte cell. Spermatocyte cell is just like the we call as what? We call as the what to say that means that before the sperm cell, right, differentiate become a mature sperm cell, they need to undergo the requires a progenitor first. Okay, so just imagine that this is diploid cell, right? This diploid cell is just found inside the testis. So the cell, right, they will undergo meiosis, and then they produce about 4 mature sperm cell. Same to the ovum. Okay, same to the ovum. So yeah, so about this mitosis, right? Mitosis is just very simple. It's just like, for example, this diploid cell, this diploid skin cell, okay, they need to undergo a lot of cell divisions. So from 1 copy, they can produce about 2 copy. They can produce about 2 copy of the daughter cell. So that's the difference between them. Okay, so just imagine that, just remember that in our human body cell, right? Every of our body cell, we have about 46 chromosomes. Total, we have about 46 chromosomes. So it means it's 23 pairs of the chromosome. Okay? 46 chromosome means 23 pair of chromosome. Okay, back to the lecture just now. So that's why in the human beings, the normal body cell, which is they refer to the somatic cell, they will have about 46 chromosomes. But in the 6 gametes, right, they have about 23 chromosomes. Okay, so 20 chromosome is found in the 6 gametes. So that's why the sperm cell and the ovum cell, they need to fuse together to undergo fertilizations. Only they will able to restore their diploid number, which is 46. So only they can become a zygote. Restore the 46 chromosome. Okay, to produce a diploid zygote. So only the diploid zygote, which contain the 46 chromosome, they able to undergo the further cell divisions. Okay, they able to undergo cell divisions. So this is pros and cons for the sexual reproduction is by the sexual reproduction, right, you are actually able to increase the genetic variations. Means that you have the opportunity to produce a better and stronger generations compared to the parents. Okay, and then the species, right, due to the generation is better. Okay, I mean you are actually increasing genetic variations, so that's why the species is able to adapt to new environment change. Okay, they have the ability to adapt to new environment change due to the variations. So what I mean by variations? Variation is referred to the difference, okay, difference among the same species. I mean, usually it's referred to the genotype, genotype. Genotype is referred to the, the genetic combinations. So by the process of the meiosis, right, you are actually able to produce the, we call as the gametes, okay? So after that, these gametes, right, when they fuse together, okay, for example, when the sperms, right, they fuse with the ovum, okay, they able to undergo, we call as a new genetic combinations. So that's why they're able to produce a new species, okay? It's not a new species. They're able to produce a species or daughter cell, which is totally different genetic material compared to the parent cell. Okay, we call as a not genetically identical. Okay, produce an offspring, right, which is not genetically identical to the parent cell. So that's why the species, they can adapt to the new change from the environments due to variations. So this will able to allow them to survive better. So if they can survive better, so means that they have chance to reproduce. So the disease is less likely to affect population due to the variations. Yeah. So this is just like outbreeding, okay? Outbreeding, they are actually increasing the genetic variations. Then what about the disadvantage? It's because they are actually involved in the sexual reproduction, right? Because they are actually involved in the sexual reproduction, right? So that's why sexual reproductions, they need more time and more energy. Okay, they use more time. Okay, they use a longer times to allow the fertilization happens between the sperm and the ovums, and then they use a longer time to allow the cell division happens. Yeah, so by this way they take a lot of times and the energies, and then it's being difficult for the isolated members of the species to reproduce. It's because that if you want to undergo the sexual reproduction, right, means that the animals, they need to find a mate. Okay, they need to find a mate. So finding a suitable mate, right, they take a lot of time. So this sexual reproductions is found in the animal cell and also in the humans and in the plant also. Okay, plants also, they're able to undergo the sexual reproductions. So later we'll study that how plants able to undergo sexual reproductions. So most crop plants, they can reproduce sexually, and this is an advantage as it means the variations is increased. Okay, so they can produce a better offsprings. They can cope with the changing in the environments. So you have the opportunity to produce progeny which can give you a higher yield. Okay, higher yield means that they can bring the better productions. Okay, you're actually able to increase the productions outcome. Okay, but the disadvantage is sometimes the variations, okay, which is referred to the genetically difference, they may lead to the offsprings that are less successful than the parents' plants at growing wells or producing a good harvest. Okay, so this is just a very rare, okay, rare outcome to happen. Okay, because sometimes, right, this offspring, right, okay, they may be not successfully being created, become a better offsprings compared to the parents' offspring. They might be worse. Okay, they might be worse. Okay, that's all. So you need to memorize this. Okay, actually, I'm not asking you to memorize, but you need to understand this one because this is very common questions. Okay, for this one, increase genetic variations. You use this kind of keyword to answer the questions. Okay, later I'll show you. So we as a human, right, will do the sexual reproduction. So we're able to produce offspring, which is their genetic material is totally not same to their parent cell. Then maybe we can talk about how the plants able to do the sexual reproduction first. So for the plant, right? Oh, sorry. For the plant, right? They have the flower. Okay. So actually, the flowers for the plant itself, it's just like their sexual organs. You know, like in the humans, right? Our sexual organs is ovum. Okay. In the male, right, there will be the testis. Okay, because this is the organs produce their sex gametes. But in the plant, their sexual organs is belong to the flower. Okay, and also most of the plants, right, they have about male and the female reproductive organs discovered on the same flower. So you can see, right, this is the flower structures. And then this flower, right, they have what? They have male and the female reproductive organs on the same flower. So here will be the male part here, which is this one, okay? Filament and the anthers. Okay, so filament just a stalk. This stalk, right, they will support the anthers. Because this anther, they can produce what? Anther, they will produce the pollen grain, pollen. So this pollen grain, right? Sorry. So this pollen grain inside, they contain the sexual gametes, which is the male gametes. Sorry. I'm moving to where already? Here. Male gametes. Just imagine that the pollen grains, they just contain the sperm. Yeah. So in the plants, right, they actually contain the male gametes inside the pollen grain. So when you combine these two male reproductive organs together, which is filament and anther, right, it will become requires what? Stamen. Yeah, stamen. Okay, it will become a stamen. Then now we talk about the female. Okay, so this is a male reproductive organs. Then how about in the female? In female, they have about 4 structure. Okay, first they'll have this stigma first. Yeah, here's a stigma. You can see, right, this is stigma. So this stigma, right, they will have the sticky sucrose solution on the surface. Okay, stigma contains sticky sucrose solutions. They contain the sticky sucrose solutions on the surface. So that's why whenever the pollen grains flies, right? Okay, because pollen grain, they need to be transferred. They need to transfer from the anther to the stigma of the flower. So just something like this. This is the anther, right? Anther will produce pollen grains, okay? So pollen grain, right, they can just transfer like that and then reach the stigma. Okay, then how the pollen grain is being transferred is they will usually undergo by 2 methods. First, required as wind pollinators. Second, known as insect pollinators here. wind pollinated or insect pollinated. So that's why the pollen grain, they must be very light or they must be very sticky. So they can stick to the insect body. So whenever the insect carry the pollen grains, right, and then they fly to another flower and then they suck their nectar, okay, they can suck the nectar from the stigma. As we know that this stigma, right, stigma, they can secrete out the nectar, okay, nectar. So what's mean by nectar? Nectar is referred to 花蜜, okay, nectar. So this nectar, right, they can stick to the pollen grain. So that's why they can allow the pollen grains to germinate, to become a pollen tube. So the pollen tube will grow to the downwards, and then they can bring the male gametes to the female gametes, which is enclosed inside the ovary. Yeah, so the story is like that. Okay, first you need to have this pollen grain stick to the surface of the stigma. So after that, this pollen grain, right, they will germinate, become a pollen tube. Just imagine that there will be long tube grow downwards, okay? So within this long tube, right, they actually carry the gametes, okay? They carry male's gametes, which is inside, okay? So they will just elongate and grow facing towards the ovary. So they just grow down the stalk, okay? So here is a stalk. Stalk is just like the long supporting stalk connecting the stigma to the ovary. And then now we talk about ovary, right? Ovary, okay. Ovary, inside they contain what? Ovary is referred to the whole structure, right? And this structure, actually inside, they contain the female gametes, which is known as egg cell. They contain the egg cell inside. So ovary, okay, is the whole part. Then now we talk about inner part. Okay, inner part, which is a structure. When there's a structure surround the, we call it as the structure, they will surround the egg cell. We call it as what? We call it as ovule. So here will be ovule. Okay, you can see the ovule surround the whole seed structure. Ovule. So this now is ovule. So by this way, the pollen grains which contain the male gametes able to able to direct their growth to the egg cell, okay, to the egg cell which is found inside the ovary. So they can undergo the fertilizations to produce a offspring again. So this happens inside the flower. Okay, so this is just for you to have a look on it. So parts of the flower. So flower is considered as the reproductive organs of the plant. Okay, usually they have both male and female. So the plants, they will produce the pollens. Inside the pollen, right, there will be a lot of male gametes inside. So unlike the male gametes in the humans, pollen is not capable of locomotions. Okay, so it means that in the sperm cell, right, you know, sperm cell, they can move by themselves. They can move forwards by themselves, swimming toward the direction of the ovum. But in the pollen grains, they cannot move, not capable of locomotion. Means that they totally cannot move. So if they cannot move, how they can able to, how they can transmit? It's not how the pollen grains, they can be transferred from this plant to another plant. So that's why they need to call the help from the insect and the wind. Okay, so we refer to pollination methods by the insect and the winds. So by these two mechanisms, they can transfer the pollens, okay, from the anthers to the stigma of the same plant or different plant to undergo the fertilizations. Yeah, so here's the whole story. And then, okay, this one just for you to read only, okay? But most important thing is you need to know about the structure that I refer to. Sepal, okay? Sepal is referred to here. Sepal. Sepal is just a structure supporting the whole flower only, and then it's connected to the tree part. Then how about petals? Petals, right? Petals we call as the 花瓣. 花瓣. So petals is brightly colors in the insect pollinated flower to attract the insect. So this is with the petals. 花瓣. Okay, here. So if the pollination is by the insect, right? The petals, they need to be in the bright color. Petal need to have a bright color like orange color, yellow color, red color. So those color, they can attract the insect come over them to suck the nectar. And then they must be have like give out a very, very sweet taste, okay? Sweet taste. So the insect, they can come more frequently. So that's why they need to have bright colors in the insect pollinated flower to attract more insects to go to take their pollen grains. Then how about the anthers? Okay, here anthers. Anthers, right? It just produce the pollen grain here. So their role is they will produce and release the pollen grains. Yeah, so this is the anther, okay, at here. Anthers. Release the pollen grain from here. Then how about stigma? So stigma, okay, they can collect the pollen grains. So how the stigma able to collect the pollen grain is the stigma contain the sticky sucrose solution, okay, which is I already write down here. So this sticky sucrose solution, right, they can stick the pollen grains. Then the ovary, okay, ovary is a structure, okay, it's a whole structure. They just protects the internal female sex cell, which is the ovum. We call it egg cell. Sometimes we call it egg cell. So how about the ovule? Ovule, they contain the female sex cells, which is found inside the ovary. Okay, so this whole thing is the ovary here. Here is the ovary. Ovary. Okay, ovary is referred to the whole outer structure. Okay, like this. So ovule is an internal. So it means that ovary will surround the ovule, which is internal. Because after that, right, after the plants, they successfully undergo the fertilizations, okay, they will produce fruits. Fruits will be produced later, right? So that's why in the flowering plants, they need to have flower first. After they have the flower, right, they're able to undergo the pollinations. So after they finish the pollinations, only they're able to undergo fertilizations. Fertilizations, because you need to bring the pollen grains to reach the to reach the egg cell inside. So the ovary, you refer to the whole structure, right? So for example, ovary is included in the fruits. So you know, at the fruits that you eat every day actually is belong to their ovary. Okay. Fruits. For example, the papaya, okay? Papaya, which is orange color, right? So actually this papaya is the ovary of the fruits. Okay, it's being evolved from the ovary of the fruits. So inside the papaya, they have a lot of seed, right? Have you eaten papaya before? It's a kind of fruits. So why I say that papaya is the ovary in the fruits? Okay, it's something like this. See? So this whole thing is the ovary. So inside, right, they contain a lot of seeds. So this is being developed from the ovule. Okay, so this seeds, right? Seed is being developed from the ovule. Wait. Sorry. It's being developed at the ovule, which is at here. Ovule. Okay, so later they will become the seed. Later. Ovary, they will become the fruits at the end. So maybe you can have a look on this. Okay. So that's why because the flower, okay, flower, they have the female or male reproductive organs. So inside they have the ovule. So after they finish their pollinations, they will develop become the fruits. Okay, they will have the fruits. So these fruits, right, is belong to their ovary. It's being evolved from the ovary. Okay, finish. So ovary, they just produce and protect the whole sex cell. However, the ovule, right, the ovule contain the female sex cell, which is found inside the ovary. Okay, then now we'll talk about adaptation of pollinations. So we have two types of pollinations, okay? One is insect pollinators, another one is wind pollinators. So for the insect pollinator, right, just imagine that if you are a flower, okay, if you are a flower, you want the insect to visit you every day. So what should you do? Means that you need to do something to attract the visit. I mean, to attract the insect to come to visit you. So that's why this is what the insect pollinator will do. We use the petals, right? These are petals. Petal is very bright light color. Okay, and then they have this scent and nectar. So this scent and nectar is being produced at the surface of the stigma. Yeah. So they are being present to visit the flower and pass the stamen to get to the nectar. They have a pollen grain. Okay, how much number of pollen grain? It's just like moderate number. As an insect, they can transfer the pollen grains efficiently with a high chance of successful pollinations. Okay, and also for this one, okay, for this one, I just need to remember some of the point also, because sometimes they will ask you, okay, how to differentiate whether it's an insect pollinated or it's wind pollinated. So when you look at the petals, must be large and bright color. Okay, they have a nectar. And then most prominent feature is their pollen grain. So this pollen grain, right, is very large, sticky, and spiky to attach an insect to be carried away. So let's have a look on the pollen grain. So pollen grain is referred like what? Later will develop become the 种子, right? So pollen grain, right, is look something like this. Yeah. So they have a spike on their surface. So only the spiky or the sticky the sticky surface, they can attach to the insect and then can be carried away. Then now about the anther. Okay, this is anther. So this anther, right, is belong to the male parts. So they are found inside the flower, and then it's being firmly attached to the brush against the insect. And then how about stigma? Okay, stigma, they will secrete out the sugar solutions. It's also very sticky, right? So they can stick the pollens. Okay, so this is for the insect. So insect, just remember the point. They need to have a very large, bright color petals. They have a scent. Okay, they have the nectar, and then they have the pollen grain, which is very sticky and large. Okay, then now we'll talk about the wind pollinated flower. Okay, so for the wind pollinated flower, right? For this one, for the wind pollinated flower, you can see the feature is different from the insects. They have a large petals or not? No. Okay, their petal is very small, or sometimes they don't have petals at all. 完全是没有花瓣的. Okay, so but their feature is they have a very long stamens and a very long filaments. So why they need to have this kind of feature is because that the stamens, as we already know, okay, they will produce a lot of the pollen grains. So that's why they need to be elongated. So when the when the wind they flow, right, they flow. When the wind flow, right, they can transfer this pollen grain to another locations. So that's why the petal is often very small and dense, green and brown in color. So for the scent and nectar, right, okay. This one, for the wind pollinated plants, right, they do not need to secrete any scent or nectar. Okay, so it's totally absent. So how about the number of pollen grains? The large amounts, right? Most pollen grains are not being transferred to another flower. So the more they reproduce, the better chance of some successful pollination occurring. Okay, so this is not very important, but you need to know is the pollen grain structure, which is here, this one. Okay, so the pollen grain is, they need to have very smooth, small, and light. So this is very different from just now, right? Just now we talk about pollen grains. We need to have what? We need to have a heavy, colorful, larger, sticky, spiky. Okay, so for this one, it will be very smooth, small in the size. Then how about in the anther? Okay, anther. Anther is referred to the outside flower. They are swinging loose on the long filaments to release the pollen grain easily. Okay, and this one, outside flower, which is stigma. So they have feathery to catch the breathing pollen grains. Okay, anther and the stigma, which is referred to here. And I can see, right, anthers here. Okay, because anther filaments, when they combine together, right, they'll become the stamen. They become stamen. So anther is the productions of the pollen grains. Okay, see, anther, they will produce the pollen grains, which are here. So no matter it's anthers or it's stigma, right, they need to have very, very long filaments. So when they have a long filament, right, they can extend to outside. So when the wind blow, okay, they can allow them to travel more easily. Okay, that's all. And then now we talk about this one. This is just summarize, okay, summarize for you. So the insect pollinator flower, they produce a smaller amount of large, heavier pollen grains. So they have a spike or hook to the surface. Then how about the wind pollinator flower? The wind pollinator flowers, they produce a very large amount of the small, lightweight pollen grains, usually smooth. Yeah, so this is the question that you can write in the answer. I mean, this is exam answer. Okay, you can write. Yeah, so they will give you something like this. Okay, so this is about 3 pollen grains. So which of the pollen grains are involved in the insect pollination? Which one? We can involve in the insect pollination. Which one? 1, 2, 3. The answer is it doesn't show a lot of tools in this chapter. So the answer will be which one? Okay, that's one. This one. First one is the pollen. This one pollen grains carried out by the insect or wind. You see the surface? It's insect or wind? It's by insect. Okay, it's by insect. Because they have a spike. You can see it's very large inside, and then they have spike. So this means that they can attach to the insect. So it's insect pollination. Okay, number 2 and number 3, right? They have a smaller size. Small size, and then they will have the wind pollination. Okay, so number 2 and number 3 is wind pollination. So you can see their pollen grains is lighter, small inside. Okay, that's all. And now we talk about the self and cross pollination. Okay, this one just for you to understand only. Okay, not very important. So what's meant by self and cross pollinations? So the cross pollination occur, right, when the pollen of one plant is transferred the stigma of the another plant of the same species. So you know, right, they need to happen inside the same species. Yeah, so this is why the most plants are able to carry out pollination as it improves the genetic variation. Okay, you are not you are not actually using the parent plant again. You're actually using from the another like because new plants, okay, new plants, and then from the same species to able to improve the genetic variations. Okay, so the pollen from the flower, they can land on its off stigma, or they can go to another flowers on the same plant, which is the stigma. So this is called as what? Self-pollination. Self-pollination, they will reduce the genetic variety of the offsprings. So thus the gametes come from the same parents. So that's why in the plant also, we don't encourage you to do the self-pollinations, okay? Encourage you to do the cross-pollinations. Okay, so since that there has a lacking of the variations in the offspring, right? Because it's considered as an advantage, okay? It's a disadvantage if the environment conditions change. So it's likely that any offsprings, they will have the adaptations to suit the new condition as well. Okay, that's all. So just remember that self-pollinations, it refer to the pollinations happen at the same plant. Cross-pollination refer to the pollination happen in the different plant. Okay, then now we talk about fertilizations. Did I show you anything? Oh, I didn't show you. Sorry. So for the fertilization, right, they will have this one. So you just imagine that the male gametes, which is found inside the pollen grains, right, they don't have tube. Okay, since they don't have tube, how they able to move? Now, so as the pollen grains, they have no tube swing to the ovary of the plants. So in order to reach the female's nucleus, they have grown their own pollen tube. So that's why, just like we talked about, there will be a pollen tube, right? It will just grow downwards through the style, reaching the ovum. So they need to grow their, because their tube, okay, pollen tube. So this only happens if the pollen grains has landed on the right kind of stigma. So the nucleus inside the pollen grain is stick down the tubes as it grows down the style towards the ovary. Okay, so sorry, I think it's a wordy, right? It's very wordy. Okay, let me show you some. Okay, I think I better to explain by image. So you can see, right, this is the anthers, okay, anthers. So anthers, they will release the pollen grains. So this small dot one is pollen grain. So the pollen grain, they will be either it's carried by the winds or by insects. So at the end, they will get into the ovary. Yeah, they'll get into ovary. So that's why this ovary, right, okay, they contain the egg cell. So whenever the pollen tube, so you can see right here's the pollen tube. Pollen tube, they carry the male gametes. They carry the male gametes. So this male gametes is being carried by the pollen tube and then enters to the ovum. Okay, enter to the ovary. Okay, enter to ovary. So they will undergo what? They will undergo fertilization later. Okay, they undergo fertilizations and then they will store their diploid. Okay, diploid organism. And then another thing is, okay, adult student, please don't confuse between the pollination and fertilizations. I hope you're able to understand the difference among them, okay? Pollination is referred to transfer of the pollen grain only. Right? Pollination is referred to transfer of the pollen grain only. Transfer of the pollen grain. This is what include in your IGCSE biology syllabus. They have a fertilizations. Fertilization, which is they include the fusion of the male and the sex gametes, okay? The male and the female. So that's why they will able to produce a zygote. Okay, so the nucleus from the sperm cell, right? They need to fuse with the nucleus of the female sex cell. So only they will produce a diploid zygote. So this fertilization is totally different from pollinations, okay? It's two different things. And then now we'll talk about the factor affecting germination. So what is meant by germinations? Germinations means that 发芽, okay, 发芽, 种子发芽. So it means that starting of grow in the seeds. Okay, and that's why I think you have experience of plantings, any seed before. You plant in the cotton woods. So what you can observe is you can see, right, the seed, right, initially it's seed, but later you can see the outer coat layer of the seed, right, slowly they will be removing. And then they will grow to become a new shoot again. So that's why this is called what? Germination. Germination means that initially it's seeds. Okay, it's a seeds. So after they germinate, they become a complete plant, which have the leaf heads, stems, and the roots. They become a complete plant. So germinations, they will start to grow in the seeds. Okay, so now we talk about water. Okay, water here. To allow the seeds to swell up and enzyme in the embryo start working so that the growth can occur. So what I mean by this is mean by whenever you want to germinate a seed, right, you need to put the seed in the container of the water first. Or sometimes you can soak the seed, okay? You can soak a very large amount of seed in the water. So you put that about 2-3 days and then you use up again. So it's because that the water, right, they can allow the seed core, right, to soften. They can allow the seed to swell up. So the enzyme in the embryo, they can start working. Okay, so the growth can occur. Okay, this is, you can just imagine that this germination, right, is referred to the seed. Initially, it's a seed first. Okay, it's a seeds. So whenever the time flies off, the seeds, right, they will germinate. First, they will produce a shoot first. Okay, it's not shoot. Sorry, they produce a dicotyledon first. This is a cotyledon leaf. So only after that they will produce a shoot side, and then become taller and taller. And then it become taller and taller like this. This we call as what? Germination. So inside this seed, right, here, actually, they contain a lot of enzyme. So after the, after the seed is being activated to do the germination of the seed, right? So first, they need to absorb the water. Okay, so that's why you need to sink the seed with the water so you can allow the seed to swell up. And then the enzyme in the embryo to start working. Okay, so inside, right, inside this, inside the seed, right, actually they have a lot of the enzyme. Okay, actually they have a lot of enzyme. So this enzyme, they're able to help to digest the nutrients which is found inside the seeds. Okay, so because that seeds is just similar to the tubers, to the bulb that we learned just now, it's a kind of the food storage material. It's a kind of food storage material. Okay. Oh, sorry. These are food. Means that inside of the seed, right, actually they store a lot of nutrients. A lot of nutrients. Okay. I think I have a picture to show you with me. With me for a moment. The picture, okay. The seed cord germination picture. Yeah. So for example, like this. Sorry, it's so big. Okay, just want to let you to have a look. How seed germination look like? Okay, here. So this is a seed germination. So you can see, right, initially it's just a seed. But after that, they will produce a first radicle. And then slowly, the seed cord will be removed away. Okay? So first, they will grow the roots first. Okay, the roots known as what? Radicle. The radicle. So the radicle, they will grow longer and longer, and then they grow a lot of side branch. And then they will have this one, hypocotyl. So that's why after that, the seed coat will be removed away. And then inside, the cotyledon will be growing. Like this. Okay. Sorry, where's my cursor? Here. And also, Adam, let me ask you, during seed germination process, do you think it requires sunlight or not? Seed germination process, the answer is no. Okay, why? Because sunlight only involved in the photosynthesis of it. Okay, please remember that. Plants need light because they need to conduct photosynthesis. But whenever the plant, especially the seed, right, the seeds, they do the germinations, they don't require input of the light because they don't carry out photosynthesis. Okay? A seed unable to carry out photosynthesis, do you know why? It's because the seeds, right, they don't have leaf. There's no leaf inside the seed initially. So that's why instead of having the photosynthesis, right, the seed actually, they will do what? They will do respirations. So this is what they are doing before they have producing their first leaf. So they will have this one. They do the respiration first. So the respiration equations, still remember? Respirations, which is they will use up what? They will use up the glucose, right? They will break down the glucose together with oxygens, right? Oxygens, and then they will release what? There is a carbon dioxide and the water. Okay, there is a water. And also energy. So this is what we call as a cellular alveolar restrictions. So seeds, during they undergo germination, right? Actually, they are performing the alveolar restrictions. Okay, they do these alveolar restrictions. So that's why the seed germination, they need to constant supply of the oxygens. See, a seeds, they need to obtain the oxygens. So the oxygens, they can be used to break down the foods which is stored inside the seed. It's because the seed is a kind of the food storage organs, right? Seed is kind of food storage organs. So that's why by this way, energy can be released for germination. It's because that during germination, right, it's actually a process require energy input. Okay, just imagine that you are a seed, right? And then you need to start to grow your radicle already. So means that by this process, right, you actually undergo cell divisions. You are actually increasing your cell number. So that's why those processes require energy input. So where you can get energy? So that means that seeds, right? Seeds, they need to do the alveolar restrictions in order to supply the energy to the germination process. Okay. Another thing is why they need to have water. They need to have water is because that they need to break down the seed cord, the outer seed cord, which is here. This one. Okay, it's because that initially the outer seed cord is very hard, dry, and rigid. So in order to allow the seed to undergo germination, first they need to soften, okay? They need to try to soften the seed cord so they can allow the water enter inside. So after the water enter into the seed, right, what they do is they will go to activate the enzyme inside. Okay, so water able to activate those enzymes inside the seed, right, to start working. Then how about the worm? Okay, this one, worms. So germination, right, they are require optimum temperatures. Cannot be too low or cannot be too high. Germination improve as the temperature rise up to maximums as the reaction which take place are controlled by enzyme. Okay, so that's why, because seed germination, right? Seed germination is a process which involved in the enzyme. You know, they actually involve enzyme. because seed generations, right, is a process to use the enzyme, okay, to catalyze the conversion of the nutrients become something can be used. For example, they'll break down the glucose stored inside. They break down the starch which is stored inside, and then they'll become the glucose, right? Become the glucose. So the glucose can be used to do the cellular reactions. So how they can do this is they will have the enzyme. Involved in enzyme. And then germinations don't require carbon dioxide. Don't require light, okay? No light and no carbon dioxide. So this is totally opposite with the photosynthesis, okay? No light and no carbon dioxide for the germination. Okay, and then we can have a look on these germination experiments. This is very rare to come out in exam, but we can understand the concept, right? So that's why they will prepare about 4 tubes. Okay, 4 tubes. First one is a seeds with a dry cotton, means no water, okay? And then secondly, yeah, there's water being supplied. And then tube C, the seed, right, is being immersed inside the broiler, the boils, okay, boil and cooler water, so with a layer of soil. And then the tube D is the seed, right, is being immersed in the moist cotton woods. So what does it happen is, for the test tube A, right, actually they want to test about the moisture. Okay, so means that if there's absence of the moisture, means that if there's no water inside the cotton wool, will the seed do germination? The answer is no. It's because there's no more water able to soften the seed coating, okay? Because there's no water to seed coating. So that's why there's no seed germinations after that. Then how about tube B? Tube B, yes, there is a seed germinations. Okay, because they have the water and then it's totally exposed to outside, right? So it means that they can get more oxygens from outside. Then number C, okay, is oxygens. So there will be a layer of oils cover the test tube C. So there will be no seed germinated. See, it's because you block the oxygen enters, you know. If you cover the surface with the oil, right, actually you are blocking the oxygen enter into the into the seeds. So that's why they cannot get enough oxygen. So they will be like stunted. Then how about number D? D, right, is referred to what? It's referred to the because warm temperature, okay? So even though it's a warm temperature, but germinated or not? The answer is no. Okay, the answer is no. So it proves that seed germinations, they require input of the oxygens, water, and the temperature, okay, or the warmth, okay, because if too high temperature, what they do? If the temperature becomes too high, right, you're actually destroying the enzyme file inside the seed. So it will affect the germination process also. Okay, so we already finished about the plant parts, right? Yeah, a very long chapter. Okay, I think we still have some time. Maybe we can discuss about the female parts. Okay, the female parts. Later we can have a look on this. So we can see, right, some of the questions they will be asking like this. See, define the advantage of the type of reproduction shown. So in other words, asexual is a quick process, no pollinators, and the offspring produced are genetically identical. Okay, so this is the advantage of reproduction because you can see, right, potato tuber. Potato tuber means that's what they are doing. Actually, they are doing the asexual reproductions. Okay, they are actually doing the asexual reproductions. And then this one, a potato tuber store starch. Explain why plants store starch. Okay, starch is an energy molecule, okay? Starch, we know as a source of energy. So whenever during the photosynthesis, right? During photosynthesis, actually the leaf, okay, they will produce a glucose. Leaf, they will produce a glucose during photosynthesis. But after that, glucose, right? Glucose, they can be converted to the starch. Okay, and also glucose can be converted become what? Sucrose during translocation. And then glucose can also be developed become the cellulose. It's because the starch and cellulose belong to the polysaccharide. So that's why they can able to do those things. Yeah. Okay. So you can see, right, this using the potato tuber is an example of the asexual productions. It's a very quick process. You can say that it took a very short time to produce a large amount of progenies. So it's very efficient. So they don't require any pollinator, not like in the plant like not like in the we call it a sexual productions. So all the offspring produced, right, is genetically identical. Okay, so why the plant store starch is because they need to convert the glucose become the starch, okay, for storage, or they need to release energy first. Okay, so can be converted to the sucrose to be undergo the required translocations. They want to go to translocations, so they're able to carry out the sucrose from this site to another site within the plants. Okay, and then this advantage of the asexual production is they'll have little variations. Little variations means that you're actually producing the organism, right, which totally same to each other. Okay, totally the same. And then there will be a little ability to adapt to change in environments. So you're actually reducing genetic variations. So you're actually reducing the ability of the progeny adapt change in the environments because the variation already being reduced. So if you are actually reducing their adaptation to change environments, you're actually increasing their susceptibility to the same disease. So you have a higher risk of extinction. Okay, so this is this advantage of the asexual productions. So we still have some time, right? And then we can talk about the another part, okay, which is here. So remember, seed generations require those three things only, okay? Enzyme temperature with a very optimum temperature, okay? Cannot be too high, cannot be too low. If too low, right, the enzyme will be inactive. Okay, if the temperature too low, right, the enzyme will be inactive. Inactive enzyme unable to produce a lot of the products. So they need to be just optimal. If too hot, the high temperature will destroy the enzyme structure, which is catalyze the germination process. Okay, I think we talk about female first. Okay, females, because female is like much more complex. So here is the female reproductive organs. So you can see here. So you just need to know about few things on it. Okay, you need to able to identify the locations. For example, like here will be the ovary. Okay, so ovary is the sites they will produce a lot of the ovum, which is known as egg cell. And also ovary is the organs they will produce a lot of hormones. Okay, they will produce hormones. So sorry, what happened? Okay, yeah, they will produce hormones. Okay, inside this ovary. So ovary is a let me mute my WeChat first. Sorry. Yeah. So the ovary is a sex organs. Ovary produce the ovum, which is the egg cell. Okay. Later, the egg cell, after they've been produced from the ovary, right, they will get to outside. Okay, they will get to outside. Oh, so they will enter into oviducts. They enter into this oviducts. Okay, so this oviduct, right, it is a small tube. Okay, it's small tubes, small narrow tubes. They connect from the ovary to the uterus. So here is the uterus. Okay, so at the where is the site of fertilization? The site of fertilization, which is the sperm encounter the ovums, they just occur in the oviducts. So oviduct is actually the site of the fertilization here. Okay, let me write down site of the fertilizations. Cause fertilizations. Oviduct, okay, oviduct. After sexual copulation, right? So the sperm, okay, they will enter. Okay, they will enter. Yeah, they will enter through the vagina and get into the cervix. Okay, they pass through the cervix, right? They'll pass through the cervix. Okay, cervix just like a narrow entry. Okay, it's an entry into the uterus. Okay, into the uterus. So this sperm, right, they will swim forwards. They can swim forwards. Okay, they're swimming to the egg cell, which is the ovum. So they just can swim like this, okay, swim upward. And then finally they will reach the oviduct. So within the oviduct, right, they can encounter the ovum. So they will do the fertilizations. So after that, after they undergo fertilization, right, you produce what? So sperm plus the ovum, right, they will become the diploid zygote. The zygote, 胚胎. So the diploid zygote, they will be produced and then they will go to where? They'll be undergo the cell divisions, okay? Zygote, they'll undergo the cell divisions. Cell divisions. So it means that from one cell, right, they will become 2 cell, 4 cell, 8 cell, 16 cell, 32 cell, something like that, 64 cell. They will become a ball of cell. They finally become a ball of cell. So this ball of cell, they will be attached to the uterus, which is here. Sorry, it's just one only, okay? Sorry, it's just one zygote only, okay? So they'll just attach to the wall of the uterus. What's the mean by uterus? 子宫内壁, okay? Uterus, 子宫内壁. Okay, something like this. So this is structure of the female reproductive organs. So we can see, right, this is oviduct. So oviducts, right, they will have the fertilization occur at here. Okay, so within this oviduct, there will be a lot of cilia. You know, cilia, where you can hear this cilia. You hear this cilia, right, from the respiratory airways. Okay, along our respiratory airway, we also have cilia. Cilia means what? 腺毛, okay, cilia. 腺毛. You also have a lot of cilia lining on the respiratory airway. Okay, for example, in your nasal airway, okay, your trachea, your bronchus, you also have the cilia. So this cilia, they can do what? They can do the cilia pitting. Okay, so you can see, right, the oviducts linings, right, there is being lined with the cilia. Not only oviduct, but the ovary and the uterus also. Their lining, okay, their lining is lined with the cilia. So the cilia, they can do what? They can do cilia pitting. What's mean by cilia pitting? Which is they can move forwards, backwards, forwards, backwards. So by this method, right, they can help to push the releasing ovum down it. And then the ovum can be carried to the sperm. Here, ovum, okay, ovum. Okay, let me show you how ovum look like. See, here's the ovum. Or sometimes we call it egg cell. Okay, this is the ovum. And then for information, ovum is being produced from the ovary, right? Then can this ovum able to move just like the sperm cell? We already know that sperm cell, they can move, right? They can move, okay? They can swim forwards, flapping their tail, okay? But can the egg cell move by themselves? Yes or no? Can the egg cell move by themselves? The answer is no. Egg cell cannot move by themselves, okay? So that's why they need to have the cilia help them to move. Egg cell we call as what? We call it just like non-motile, okay? It's a non-motile cell. They cannot move. So they need to have the cilia, okay? The cilia along the linings help to push the ovum down to the sperm. So they will have the fertilization occur. Okay, and now we'll talk about ovary. Ovary is what? 卵巢, okay, ovary. So ovary, right, inside they contain the egg cell, which is the ovum, the female gametes. So they will mature and then develop when the hormones are being released. So this ovary, right, is actually a site of production of a lot of hormones. For example, like the estrogen and progesterones, all those are being produced by the ovary. Estrogens and the progesterone. Then how about in the uterus, okay? Uterus is referred to here, 子宫, okay, like this. Yeah. Okay, when we talk about uterus, right? Uterus, a healthy uterus, they must be have very, very thick lining. Okay, why? To prepare for the implantation of embryo later. Okay, so it's a muscular bag. Okay, what's mean by muscular? It's because the uterus, right, their structure is they contain a lot of muscle. Okay, muscle. So that's why this muscle cell will become the uterus. So that's why uterus, they can do what? They can like slightly contract and relax. Okay, so once the uterus contract, right, they can help to squeeze the blood out. Whenever the females having the menstruations, okay, so they can feel like the uterus is slightly squeezing, okay, squeezing to also blood out. Okay, so uterus is a muscular bag with a very soft linings where the fertilization eggs will be implanted. So implantation of zygote happens in the uterus. Implantations. Implantations of zygote. Okay, they just happen. It just happens on the uterus lining. So do you know why? Some of the women, okay, they have the miscarriage. You know why? 流产, okay, miscarriage. It's because the uterus wall is too thin. So you can just imagine that when the uterus wall become too thin, right, the embryo cannot implant on it. So they will be dropping down. So miscarriage will occur. So that's why the uterus lining is very, very important. Okay, they need to allow the implantation of the embryo, okay, firmly attached to the wall to prevent them from being slipping down. And then now about cervix. Cervix is referred to the ring of the muscle at the lower ends of the uterus to keep the developing fetus in the place during pregnancy. Yeah, just like a ring of muscle, okay, ring of muscle. And then the vagina. Vagina is a muscular tube. It can lead to inside of the woman body. So this is a place which is they receive the male penis during the sexual intercourse. And then it's also a site they will receive the sperm. So the sperm is being releasing at the vagina, right? So the sperm will swim forwards, okay, enter into cervix to the uterus and finally they reach the oviduct. Finally they reach the oviduct. Okay, so the structure for the sex cell, right? I mean the sex gametes, which is the sperm cell and the egg cell, right? The difference is sperm cell, they can move. Okay, they can move by themselves due to they have a flagellum tube. Okay, so this flagellum, right, they can help to like allow them to swim forwards. Then how about egg cell? Egg cell is cannot move. So that's why they need help from the cilia. Okay. To help them to move forwards. So, and then we need to know about their, we call it their characteristic, okay, their characteristic of those sex gametes. So fertilization is the fusion of the nucleus from the male gametes, which is sperm cell, and the female gametes, which is the egg cell. So the sperm cell fused with the egg cell, they will become the diploid. Okay, they will become the diploid. So this is happened inside the oviduct, which is the site of fertilization. So now let's look about their adaptations. Okay, so sperm cell, I think you learned it before, right? The sperm cell. Okay, just recall back on the sperm cell. They just have three parts. Okay, the head parts, mid piece, and the tail. So here's a three part. Okay, here. Sorry, head part. Here's a head part. So the head of the sperm cell, right? They have what? They have the acrosome. So this acrosome, right? They will form their cap. The cap. So acrosome inside, they contain what? What substance are found inside acrosome? So acrosome, they will secrete the hydrolytic enzyme. Acrosome, they will secrete the hydrolytic enzyme. So this hydrolytic enzyme able to do what? They're able to digest the jelly coat of the ovum. Whenever they are trying to penetrate, whenever the sperm cell, right, they are able to penetrate the ovum. So jelly coat is referred to here, which is here. Okay, sorry, it's here, jelly coat. Okay, jelly coats, do I show in the picture? Let me show you. Is that here? Can you see this? You can see this picture, right? This is a human egg cell, okay? So you can see the structure, they have a nucleus, and then this nucleus, right, is known as what? Haploid. Not a haploid nucleus. Is because at this nucleus, they only have half of the chromosome number, which is they just have about one copy, okay? They just have one copy of chromosome number, which is 23, okay, 23. So this nucleus, right, okay, is inside. They have what? Inside the cytoplasm, they have the fat or the proteins inside, acting like the energy reserve. Okay, let me show you this. So you can see, right, this is what? This is a lipid droplet. So the lipid droplet are found inside the cytoplasm of the ovum. So this lipid droplet later they will become source of energy during cell division. So as a cell division, right, means that from the one copy they will become two copy, four copy of cell. So those processes require the input of the energy. So where you can get the energy from? You get energy from here, okay, from this cytoplasm of the ovum. Yeah. So the nucleus itself, right? Oh, they have a, we call it as the zona pellucida, which is known as a record here. Okay, zona pellucida, or we call it jelly cord. So this zona pellucida is a very hard structure. It's just like the egg, right? They have an eggshell, okay? The eggshell of the egg is very, very hard, right? Just something like this. So this zona pellucida, or sometimes we call it jelly cord, okay? It's just a hard shell cover the eggs. So that's why whenever the sperm, they need to enter, okay? They need to enter, right? Like this is sperm, okay? What they do is they need to enter. So that's why the sperms from the head part, which is the acrosome will secrete the enzyme. So this enzyme can help to digest the jelly cord. So after they digest the jelly cord, right, there will be a small hole. So they can fuse inside. Okay, I mean, so they can enter, they can get the entry into the ovum. Then they can encounter with the nucleus of ovum. So they will become the diploid zygotes later. So this is the sperm cell, right? You can see they have the acrosome. So this acrosome, they will secrete the enzyme to digest the jelly cord. And then the sperm cell, right, they have a very high number of the mitochondria as compared to the ovum. Ovum, they doesn't have such high concentration of the mitochondria, but in sperm cell, they have a lot of mitochondria inside. Do you know why? It's because it's a sperm cell, right? It's a very metabolic active cell. Okay, because they just always move. Okay, they move every second. If the sperm cell suddenly they didn't move, they just stop at that, means that the sperm cell already died. Okay, because the life purpose of the sperm cell is they will just always swim and move until they reach the ovum. So they must be a lot of the mitochondria on that meat piece. And so they have this haploid nucleus. So this haploid nucleus, they contain the genetic material. So later they will fuse with the haploid nucleus from the ovum, which is here. Okay, that's all. So you just need to know that this jelly cord, okay, here is jelly cord. Okay, so for the sperm cell, right, they have the flagellum, which is a tube. So they have the enzyme in the head part, which is the acrosome. For the egg cell, they have the cytoplasm containing the store of energy for cell division later. And then the jelly-like coatings that change after fertilization. Here is jelly-like coating. Okay, so what's mean by this one? Jelly-like coating change after fertilization is referred to the after when the sperm cell they able to penetrate and get entry into the ovum. So now the sperm cell are inside the ovum already. Here, like this. And then only one sperm cell able to get entry into the ovum, not more than one. Okay, you need to have only one sperm to fertilize with one ovum. 1 to 1, not 2 sperm fertilized with one ovum. Okay, this cannot be processed. Do you know why? It's because that whenever the one sperm, right, they fertilize with the ovums. So the sperm itself, they have haploid nucleus, which is 23. And then how about ovum? Ovum itself also have about 23 of nucleus. So 23 plus 23, you get about 46. So you're able to restore the 46 chromosome, which is our normal number of chromosome. Okay, so whenever the question asks about this, right, which is like this, okay, they will ask you question like this. This I will send you later. You can have a look. Yeah, this one. Why is it important that the polynucleases are haploids? So the polynucleases are haploids, which is they only contain about 23. Okay, 20 chromosome is because that they need to restore the diploid number of zygote after finish the fertilization. Same to the sperm cell and the egg cell. Okay, to maintain and restore the same number of chromosomes, which is diploid from generation to generations. Okay, so only one sperm and one egg cell to become 46. Okay, if they have 2 sperm with one egg cell, what will become? It's like you just imagine 23 times 3. Wow, so you have about 69 chromosomes. If you have the 2 sperms fused with one egg cell, you have about 69 chromosomes. So this is just a kidding, okay? But this will not be in process, okay? So even though it really happens, but this cell, right, definitely they will be undergo degenerations because they have about 69 chromosomes. 69 chromosome doesn't match to our chromosome. Okay, 69 is I mean it doesn't match to our chromosome number, so that's why it cannot be done. So this is example of answer that you must rewrite. Okay, to restore the same number of chromosome, which is diploid from generation to generations. And then another thing is after the sperm penetrate into the ovum, right? So what happened to jelly cord is jelly cord will be hardened. Okay, jelly cord of the egg cell will harden after sperm cell penetrate into ovum. So that's why jelly cord of the egg cell will be hardened. After they harden, right, they actually can prevent other sperm cell. They can prevent like second or third sperm cell get entry to the ovum again. That's why hardens means like they just like close their door. So whenever the door is being closed, right, the outside the sperm cell they cannot go inside already. Okay, that's all for the 6 gametes. Okay, and then this is their feature, okay? So flagellums, they will always swimming to the eggs. The sperm cell, they contain the enzyme at the head parts. So they can digest it, they can digest the jelly coats. And the cell membrane of the cell will emit one. Okay, so the most thing important is they will digest the jelly coat. Then they have a lot of mitochondria, which is they will provide the energy from the respirations so that flagellum, they can move back and forth for the locomotions. So that's why the sperm cell, they're always moving, right? They're always moving. Then how about the egg cell? The egg cell, they have the store of energy, right? So that's why their cytoplasm, they have what? They have a lipid and proteins inside. So they will just provide energy for the zygote to undergo cell divisions after finish fertilizations. Then they have this one, jelly-like coatings, okay? These jelly-like coatings, they can change after fertilizations. They will prevent second sperm enter into the egg cell. So you can prevent what happened? You can prevent polyspermy. By this way, okay, by this way. Okay, this is very rare to ask in SMR, but sometimes they will come out in paper 2, which is a multiple choice questions. So if you want to compare the size of the sperm cell and the egg cell, right? The sperm cell, the size is very, very small. Smaller than the egg cell. Egg cell, that will be larger, okay? The egg cell, right, is about 0.2 millimeter. 0.2 millimeter, right, you still can observe under microscope or under naked eyes, okay? Even though it's very, very small. So the sperm cell, this is structure. So what they do is they will do the locomotions. So egg cell is unable to move. Yeah. And also, you have a lot of sperm cell being produced, you know, every day is a high number of sperm cell being produced, okay? You have about 100 millions of sperm cell being produced per day. But in the egg cell, right, you only have one ovum released in each month. Means that inside the ovary, right, you have about, we call as the primary oocytes. Okay, later I show you this one. Let me show you this one, okay, the oogenesis, because oogenesis. Actually, this is not included in your syllabus, but I think you maybe heard before or you didn't heard before, which is something like this. Okay, this is the one that I want to show to you. Hey, sorry, what happened? Maybe I can show you this picture. Yeah, I can show you this picture. Okay. Okay, this is just for your understanding only. You don't need to memorize this, but I just want to explain to you, like how the ovum cell is being produced by the process of the meiosis. Okay, which is later they will include in the sexual reproduction later. So you just imagine that inside the ovum, oh, sorry, inside the ovary, okay, inside the ovary. In the ovary, right, there will be a lot of cell, okay. So this cell, right, is the precursor before they becoming an actual ovum. So it's the orgonium, okay, because orgonium. Orgonium initially is diploid, just like in our somatic cell, okay, which is diploid in number. Diploid means is they have about 2 pair of chromosomes. They have about 2 pair of chromosomes. So this orgonium, right, they will be further differentiated and mature, then they become primary oocyte. So after they become primary oocyte, right, it's still diploid, okay, which is they still have about 2 sets of chromosomes. So you can see, right, 2 sets. So what will happen is they will undergo the meiosis process. So during meiosis process, right, actually you half their chromosome number, okay, become single copy already. So see, from the 2N become N. 2N means that they have 2 sets of chromosome. 1N means that they only have single set of chromosome. So you can see, right, they happen. So, and then you further meiosis again, undergo meiosis again, then you're able to produce about 4 haploid cell. Okay, can you see? 4 haploid cell. So out of this 4 haploid cell, only 1 haploid cell able to differentiate successfully become an ovum. Other 3, right, they will be undergo degenerations. Okay, because other 3 cell, right, is built of polar body. Polar body means that they don't have the feature just developed in the ovum cell. Like, for example, like jelly coats, like the nucleus. Okay, they don't have the feature. So it means that every cycle of menstruations, right, in the women's, they only produce 1 ovum only. Male, right? Male, they can produce thousands, it's not thousands, but it's billions or millions of the sperms cell, and they get entry into the vagina and then reaching the oviducts. But in the female, they only produce 1 ovum only. Okay, 1 ovum for each menstrual cycle. They didn't produce about 2, 3 ovum. No, they only produce 1 ovum. So this ovum is very, very important. Okay. So this is just how we just talked about, like how the meiosis able to produce 4 haploid cells, which each of them they have about single number of chromosomes from the diploid parent cell. Okay, we almost finished talking about this, right? Okay, so we stop until here. And then before, oh sorry, let me discuss some of the questions with you. We still have about 2 minutes, okay? Okay, you can have a read for this one. See, like the feature of the flower, they can attract the insects such as bees, right? See, this is a feature, okay? They need to have the scent, they need to produce nectars, they need to be colorful, so they must be attractive to the insect. Then this one, okay. Describe how pollination occur. So you can see, right? After the pollen grains leave the anthers until fertilization take place. So it means that the pollen grains, they landing on the stigma. So after that, pollen tube, they grow, okay? They grow, they elongated. So they grow downwards through the style, reaching the ovary. So the milk gametes in the pollen, right, they will release out, and then they enter into ovules through the macropyle. Okay, sorry, where's the macropyle? Macropyle is referred to the whole, okay? So they can fuse together. Macropyle, right? This the macropyle is they refer to here. Here is a macropyle. Let me show you. Sorry, I didn't mention just now, which is at here. At here. Where is it? Okay, you just imagine, right? This is the ovary, okay? On the ovary, on the below part, right, there will be a small tube. It's not a small tube, it's a small hole. It's a small hole. So this small hole, they can allow the pollen tube to get an entry and enter into the ovule. So they can meet the egg cell to undergo the fertilizations. Okay, so that's all for that's all today. I think there's too much information for you. I hope you still feel okay. So okay, later I'll send some homework again. So I'm still waiting for your chapter 15 paper 2, okay? For the paper 2 questions. Later I'll send you about chapter 16 multiple choice question, and then you can attempt on it. So that's all for today. Do you have any question to ask me? No? Okay. Okay, so bye. See you in next class. Bye.